Hello, my friends. Welcome, welcome. I'm back out in my studio and really, loving to have the nature around me. And I found some pictures the other day of our home. We've been here for almost 25 years now, and I found a picture of our front yard. And I don't know if you've ever seen our front yard now, but it's all full of succulents. But the front yard was grass. It was grass. That was it. And it was so wonderful to see that my and our contributions to our environments, our loving our environments, really makes things bloom and evolve. And so that's part of what we're up to here, is to be supporting each other to bloom and grow, even in the midst of all of you know what going on right now. So I'm just going to take a little water. What I would love to do today, as we're beginning with our loop of awareness, I find more every day truly about the power, the benefits of loop of awareness. And one that I think is particularly valuable right now is to create situational awareness. That when I'm circulating my attention, I become much more aware of my environment. And I'm really fascinated with context and the act of creating, sustaining, and changing our environments. And really our environments are more indicative, they're more powerful to adjust our behavior than anything else. So we think, parenting, what we know now is that parenting is basically over at about 7, because from then on your peers have much more power than your parents. So there are all kinds of ideas that we have about how growth occurs and how including occurs. And I really want to jostle those up, because my sense is that our giving attention, our noticing, our giving attention to ourselves and to others creates a friendly, inviting environment. And so you can be a little haven for yourself and for others wherever you show up, particularly with the practice of shifting your attention, which I call loop of awareness. Other people in research call it shuttling, which which I think could work. And the other thing that there are many benefits, but the one that's occurring to me is that I'm able to get feedback from my environment, from others, instead of being in my own bubble of what's actually going on. And so for me, it grounds me in reality, but it also grounds me in my own presence, because I'm giving attention to me, and then I'm giving attention to around me. And I've been wanting to kind of confirm and reaffirm some of our basic practices that allow me and you to continue growing the power of our loop of awareness. And the one I wanted to have you play with today is to let yourself loop and land and breathe. So it'll be a loop and land and breathe and then shift. So then looping back to you, landing. And what I invite you to do is to land someplace in your body. In fact, let your body kind of surprise you with where your attention wants to land. And then let yourself breathe into and around that area. And then shift to out. Let your attention go out and let it land. And I'm letting mine land right on the peak of the hat of the little guy that's on our pig sculpture out. And so I'm letting myself land and breathe. And when I'm breathing, I can feel my attention expanding in a kind of appreciating. I'm kind of taking that in. And my breathing allows me to bring my whole self, and then come back to you, letting yourself loop and then land someplace different and let yourself breathe. And I find too, when I'm breathing, I'm looping and landing with me, and I'm breathing, that my body often wants to do something. And I think we often stop that. There's that kind of stop it, of that comes, I think, from protection. So when you come back, you can let yourself loop and land and breathe. So I was landing in my belly, and my breathing started, my body wants to do a kind of a little circling, and so I'm letting that happen. So what will occur as you're doing this, let yourself continue looping and landing and then breathing and then shifting. So as you're doing that, more and more, what I find as I'm doing that is that I get more and more presence. I'm circulating my attention. And my sense is one of the basic ways that we get stuck, whether it's stuck in fear or stuck in anger or stuck in hopelessness, is that we're not circulating our attention. It can get heavy, like it can land in your chest and feel heavy, or it can land in your shoulders and feel. So as you're letting yourself land and breathe, that breathing begins to circulate more attention. And truly, health is connected with circulation in all forms. So circulating, your blood, circulating your breath, circulating all of your nutrients in your blood, but it's also circulating your attention, because all of those are really run by the awareness that you have in your cells. And so let yourself just do that a few times, and then let yourself notice, like I'm closing my eyes for a moment and noticing, and I feel a kind of a little inner smile, almost a little inner giggle. It's kind of and that's at the core of me. And there may be all kinds of stuff going on, and you, by just the simple practice of loop of awareness, can increase your circulation, which increases so as I'm opening my eyes again, things are brighter just from that, just a couple of circulating my attentions with loops. So I'd love for you to come back to this, to return to this, to use this as a kind of love, what we call love in action, but it's kind of a meditation in action. So especially if you get walked by something, which is likely to happen, something unexpected comes in, this is such a great practice to just let yourself loop and land and breathe into, and then let your body move, and then loop and land and breathe and let your body move. Yeah, so notice, I notice that even with just that little bit of practice, I feel more aliveness circulating, what we call symptoms of aliveness. So notice what happens for you, and also you might get information too about where your body wants attention. You might have something pop up inside of something that you're wanting to do, or a kind of completion that you're wanting to do. So what it's going to do is connect all of you. I was just thinking about, we watched the Super Bowl yesterday, and watched the commercials, and watched Bad Bunny. I love I sometimes call him Bugs Bunny, because I get the same kind of play from him. But one thing I wanted to share about that is the Seattle team, to me, illustrates what happens when there's, yes, I know, it's a big celebration. Also, their owner is a very, very good gal, and does a lot of good for the community. But they had no superstars on their team. But what I noticed was that the attention that they gave to each other created an organism. It created what we call a team. But I had the physical experience, the energetic experience of seeing them as a team. And that the team, the intelligence of the team, is what really won the game. And they're giving that kind of attention to each other. And so it really underlined for me the value of, if I'm giving attention, like I'm with someone that we're having a little kerfuffle, but I'm giving attention to both of us, I'm actually opening up the connection that allows us to combine our energies rather than isolating and dividing our energies. And so for me, it was such a confirmation of, and that they could do things that it didn't seem possible that people should be able to do. Like to go through a space that looked like it was just completely packed. So we can play with physics by letting ourselves play with attention. So I'd like to bring up the card now, because it's related, I think, also to what we're doing with circulating our attention. And it's one of, when I say that when someone comes up, I say, oh, that's one of my favorites. And they're all sort of my favorites. But this one, I'd like you to really let your attention, so loop and land somewhere in the card. And let yourself breathe, and then bring your attention back to yourself, and just noticing wherever your attention lands in you. Loop and land, and breathe, and then maybe let yourself move, and continue circulating your attention while I read you first the sentence and then the question. I follow my body signals that let me know I don't want to make a particular agreement. I follow my body signals that let me know I don't want to make a particular agreement. And then the question is, how can I easily say no to agreements I do not want to make? How can I easily say no to agreements I do not want to make? So letting yourself just circulate your attention a couple more times, looping your attention and noticing where you go into the collage and what occurs to you when you bring your attention, you're noticing back to you. And let's come on back to the group, because in our 4 pillars, agreements, I've talked a lot about how agreements are central, and they're really your thermostat, your barometer. So if something is not working, it's going to show up at the level of agreements. And in recent weeks and months, I've become particularly aware of something that Werner Erhard said back in the day, which is that our society really runs on agreement. Things happen because we agree. And I was thinking of this example of contrasting, like you'll see on some show where there's a power over kind of thing, and one of the person who's in charge will say something like, am I clear? Is this clear? And to me, that I think what they're trying to say is, this is what I'd like, do you agree? But they're doing it in a power over way. Like, am I clear? And when I hear that or I see that, there's this kind of a jostle. And for us to be able to say, I do not agree, because it occurred to me that that's a lot of what I'm experiencing right now, which I do not agree with this. I do, and it's a no. And when I let myself have that no, I can access the flow of power, the flow of my anger. I can turn my fear into oomph. And so I really would like you this week to be looking at your agreements in general, your big agreements, your little agreements, and really noticing, is this something that I want? Do I say yes or no to this particular agreement? And then being, as you're circulating your attention, what what's required for me to be able to easily say no, and then what happens? So it's the then what happens that, what does something unwind? Do I then get scared? Does the other person attack? Do they isolate? Or, are we able to negotiate something that's based on what we both want? So I find it a really, really, really big deal. So if you're saying no to an agreement, there's probably communications that are going to need to be made, like something that you overrode or feeling sad about what's going on. So if I am able to easily say no, then it opens up. I find that no actually comes before yes. Then it easily opens up the space for what I do want to say yes to. So that's what I'd like to invite you to play with. And I'm sort of noticing, I kind of had this thought that this whole subject probably takes the breath out. So, because it can be scary for a lot of people. We don't really, as a society, have a very good way of saying, no, I don't agree, and here's my point of view, and here's how I'd like to navigate here. And so this can allow us to find a new way of communicating when there is not an agreement, a way that allows us to stay in relationship and to disagree. So just try on, can I still be in relationship to someone I care for? Although you may find, oh, I realize that my no is actually a no to this relationship. So that can happen also. And I think a lot of why we don't look at I don't agree is because of the implications. So what am I willing to agree to? And what is agreement for me? So just opening up to that whole area. So the other thing that I wanted to share with you about, I just had a new level. I'm still practicing how to go from fear into the fear melters, into what the fear melters will open up for you. So here's what came to me this morning. I just want to share with you, since you're my group that I share all this stuff with, that by practicing the fear melters, your fight you can recover your what I call your oomph. So we can give it more complicated words, but you can recover your oomph, which for me is also I do not agree. That's coming from my oomph, which is not from my fear place, and it's not from my angry place, it's from my oomph. So, and then you can go from flee to grounding to recovering your bounce. You're recovering your bounce, recovering your readiness. I mean, we could, Latinate, we could call it your readiness, but recovering your bounce. So there was a time when I was in long COVID where I realized I didn't have my up. I had no up. And it took me a long time to even realize that I didn't have my up. And so your buoyancy, your bounce. So that's what you can get. And then your freeze, you can recover your ability to pause. So going through wiggling allows you to recover your ability to not rush into something, not jump over something, not freeze in it, but to actually pause in space. And then your love scoops allow you to recover your reach, to recover what we might call your engagement, but it's actually your reach, because we've been tucking, but when you reach, you have impact. So that was what was coming to me this morning. So I was feeling excited about that because it all kind of downloaded. So I think I'm getting pretty close to wanting to share that it's not just about moving through fear, it's about utilizing the energy that's trapped in fear. So when people say, don't be afraid, we're cutting off the access to a whole bunch of our life energy. So I was feeling excited about that. And now I'm going to pull up Presence Connect Play. And my plan today also is to appreciate our technician, Patrick. Some of you know Patrick Broom, who is our website guy, but he also created the Presence Connect Play app. And the website that is behind the Presence Connect Play app is so rich. It's got so much great stuff in it. So I really wanted you to know about that and to let yourself wander around and really explore not just the combo, but explore the page that is on the website, the whole page that's behind the combo, because they're just incredibly rich and full of great stuff. Oh, this is super. So presence is fear melters. So we can take that as read because we just did that. Check. I love that. And what I invite you to do, I would love to get your feedback as you're playing with the fear melters. If you can feel more access to your oomph, your bounce, your pause, and your reach as you're doing those, if you can feel the, oh, I have some new, I have access to some new wiring. I have access to some new combinations that allow me to feel more agency as I'm moving around in the world. So connect is such a great one. Choose to see others as allies on your team. And I've found that even when I'm dealing with people I don't like, or I don't like their values, that I can still choose to see them as on the team, on the human team. And I have found really little miracles occurring. People, shifting a kind of me, or get off my lawn kind of attitude, and having a little bit of an opening to deeper connection. And my being willing to see them as allies allows them to then see themselves as allies rather than having to be isolated out of fear. I think all of that comes out of fear. And as I've said before, the choosing to see gay as my ally was the shift that made the most difference early in our relationship, when we were at a kind of, are we really going to do this? And it shifted my experience of whenever he would say something to me, I would receive it as a criticism, because I grew up pickled in criticism, and he did in fact criticize me. And when I made the move to seeing him as my ally, lo and behold, over a short period of time, the criticism really dropped out. And I began, when he would say, I notice, instead of cringing, I got curious. There was one day where I really noticed, oh, I'm turning toward this with curiosity, and I knew that I had really shifted that inner state. And that was pretty exciting to see how something that you change inside can have such an influence on your relationships. Excuse me. Oh, here's a new one. I'm going to take a drink. So play is let go. So we don't often think of letting go as being a play move. But letting go, for example, of an idea, of a thought, of an issue, that letting go is part of the toss. So, other people can't receive it if I don't let go of it. And so the whole letting go opens space for something new to come in. And I often, if I'm pushing on something, or I'm trying to make something happen, and I simply let go, there's this, I just was feeling this kind of buoyancy. There's something else that floats up, like, oh, this would be just so much easier. It's almost always something easier occurs when I let go of something I've been efforting on. So, but the thing I want to suggest to you this week, because we look at these three things, but we don't look at them together. So what I want to invite you to do with these three things is to use them for something you're wanting to create. It's not always something that's wrong, something you're wanting to create, something that you're wanting to explore, and to approach it with, like, starting with your fear melters, and then choosing to see this issue, how is this issue really my ally? How is this really for me? and then just humming about that, and then letting go. Like, okay, here's my experience of this issue or this conversation or this person right now, and then just gather it all up and just let go of it for the moment. So putting those in combination with each other, I think, is what really has the power. And rather than seeing them as individual, they will form their own little organism. And that's what I think is so interesting, because if you take one of them out and put something else in, like a new connect or a new play, then you have a new organism, which then allows you to have even a deeper exploration and a deeper opening as you're creating or resolving. So the combination of them is what I'm really interested in hearing how that goes for you, what you discover. So you can put that in the chat, or you can come onto Mighty Networks into community, and that's a place that you can come to get attention, to share, but also to share your experience, so that we can all benefit from that. So those are things that I have for today, but I want to end with, for sure, our Here I Am. Because, how often in life today do you get a chance to go like this? Here I am. Like, if you go into the theater, everyone's going, shh, so here I am, and I'm so glad. And here I am, and you can have another here I am. One of the things I just loved about the halftime was that everybody was dancing. All these people were dancing. And I'm so glad. I was so glad to see that. Years ago, I've been a dance movement therapist for 55 years, and Gay, in the early days, he used to accuse me. He said, I know what you want to do is turn everybody in the world into dance movement therapists. And I would just cheerfully say, yes, this is what I want to do. This is my mission. So when I saw halftime yesterday, I said, my work is finished. I've turned everybody in the world into dance movement therapists. So that people are moving, it was just such a celebration, because when we're moving, energy is circulating, we're in communication with each other, and it's the way that people have created community for thousands of years. So music and dancing, yes. So so thank you so much for being here today and playing and dancing. So have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you next time, and please stay and share as you wish. Mwah. Bye now.